Hello everybody and welcome back to the Sideline Eye podcast. You're welcome to our review show and we're looking back at the quarterfinals of the Intermediate Championship. We're discussing the two with Barry Flynn from the Saturday games in the Athletic Grounds and also Friday night game in Davil Park between St Paul's and Mouth Tones. And we'll have an interview coming up from Sunday's clash between College Lawn and Cullaville as well. We're in the Athletic Grounds at the minute and we're just back from the two games that took place. So Barry, we'll start with them. I will start with the one that we're only after witnessing. You were on Armagh TV for this. It was Bilek coming up against Tullysarn, and probably, I would admit, I was writing off Bilek. I felt Tullysarn were going to win this game. Now they did win it, but just maybe not as comfortably as some would have predicted.
Yeah, I thought coming into it that Bilek had a real chance at sneaking a win here, just based on back to league results and things like that. Tullysarn hadn't been winning tight games. Bilek over the last few years have been in these big championship games that have been very tight. Saying in the commentary that these going to take us extra time again. They'll be gutted in there. But the only thing you can say is they really died with their boots on. Hit 20 points and lose a championship game that they are an underdog in. It's a bit hard for them to take right now, I'd say. But they made a real fist of it. And to be honest, Tullysarn made a really good game as well. Both teams went at it. I thought it would be a defensive affair, and it wasn't. They both went out for a shootout, and it was really, really enjoyable to watch. I really enjoyed it.
And the goals, obviously, they made the difference. Tullysarn got one after, I think it was 2 or 3 minutes maybe. Peggy Komsky got a goal, and then Gavin Conlon got one in the second half. And when you're conceding goals at this level, it takes a lot to get that back, and it helped Tullysarn in a bit of a lead.
Yeah, and Bilek had a good enough record over the season about keeping clean sheets, and Tullysarn, when the goal chances presented themselves, they really nailed them. Like that second one from Gavin Conlon was a brilliant finish, and they obviously smelled blood from it just a wee bit out. The ball was headed up, flicked across, and bang, it was in the net. Bilek at the same time had their goal chances too and just didn't take them. Fergus Quinn came through on one just after he came on, probably right move with the wrong man at the end of it. And then the second half, it was Drew McFerry and then on the 6-yard box. And maybe an opportunity around the keeper, but it's easy to say that from the stands. When you're in there, you have to make decisions straight away, and keeper got down there and smothered it. And that, if one of them chances go in, but they are in the draw for a semi-final, and what a story they had over the last few years, beating a junior final, go and win it. And they really made their mark in this championship. But it is that we say in goals win games. If you can stop them, you'll put yourself in with a shout, albeit Tullysarn will want to look at their defensive system for a semi-final, whoever they draw.
And I suppose just on Bilek, I sort of said it in our preview show that I thought Callum O'Neill was out for the year, and I think that was the whispers, but he came in the day, himself and Fergus Quinn more tugged out last week against Parkhill. They both came in and they made an impact. I think Callum got 3 points after coming in, and just a solid target on the inside square.
He made a big difference for Bilek, and he gave them a bit more of a point to attack from. It was a risk, no doubt, it was a risk, but they're probably thinking, right, the season's over. Either way, if they lose here, the season's over. From what I read, he needs surgery on the shoulder. It's the 3rd time that this injury has crept up on him, and it needs to be fixed. But to be fair to him, he got strapped up and said, look, if this game's in the net pod, I want to be a part of this. And that's great to have in your club, somebody that'll do that. And he's obviously, I'd imagine he'd be sore tonight, after whatever painkillers he maybe took before the game wore off. But he wanted to be a part of that, and they very, very nearly pulled it off. I thought that, without Callum, I think Bilek needed to win midfield, and he wasn't going to be playing. Then James McCarran was off injured. Thinking, what way will this work out for them now? And Bilek just took over at that point. Tullysarn seemed to go into their shell a bit. They were so close there, but fair play to Callum, he threw himself into the mix there for them, and they can't have asked for much more out of him, to be honest.
And just on Tullysarn then, I think by my count, Bilek scored 6 of the last 8 points to bring it back to a 1-point game. That's obviously concerning for Tullysarn. Now, it must be mentioned that a part of that time Mark McKeever was off with a black card, so obviously Tullysarn got a point down, but that a bit concerning that they let Blake sort of dominate that last 10 or 15 minutes?
Yeah, it definitely has to be. And the only thing I'll say is going into this, they hadn't won in a tight game. The three big teams in 2A this year that finished above them, St Paul's, St Peter's and Shane's, I think they had one win out of the 6 games, or they beat St Paul's, I think. But that brings in nervousness, and you like to be winning games. And I believe they won 10 games this year, and Tullysound maybe had a long break after that league. They got off to a bad start again, Cross, but they reeled it back and obviously pulled away the second half. They started this game really well, but they just sort of went to sleep for a while. Now they did play with a lot of energy first half, whereas both teams had sat back. Tullysound were able to get forward a bit quicker. They attacked a bit quicker than Blake did. We were a bit more methodical in their play, but maybe that sapped the energy out of Tullysound a wee bit. They had an end going down with cramp after 47 or 8 minutes, and that's okay. That happens. Boys have put a lot of effort in, but Blake really turned the screw on them. And if that Blake goal chance goes in, you're just looking at you're out of the championship after being in control. They were, when they got the second goal, they were 6 up. Another point or two in the game's over. And I thought in the early part of McKeever going off in the black yard, they controlled the ball pretty well and they knocked it about and drew Blake out, and probably killed down 3 or 4 minutes. But they just didn't seem to get back on the gas again after that. And they'll need to look at that defensively. Blake have very good forwards. Sean McCreasy was going to score heavily enough, and other lads chipped in today. Calvin Lee's going to be a threat in there too. But Tullysound, depending on who they draw, will probably face better forward lines coming up, and they'll not get away with conceding 20 points. But that's being picky on. They'll say, look, we're in the semi-final again for the 3rd year, and we've stuff to fix. That's a great place for them to be in too. So they'll be just glad that they're out of there. I don't think they picked up any injuries really.
Cramping.
Just cramping basically, but they'll get that fixed, I'm sure, and they'll give themselves the 2 weeks now to get ready for a semi-final.
Well, that was the second in the double header in the Athletic Grounds. First up it was Shane's and St Peter's, and probably billed as the game of the week, but a bit of a letdown maybe, by putting it lightly.
It was definitely not as exciting as the second game. Now, albeit Shane Reeves will not give one damn about how good the game was. They'll say, look, we won the game by 5 points. We're in semi-final. What else do you want us to do? I thought Shane's controlled midfield for the first 20 minutes or so. Then the next thing, I thought this game sliding away from St Peter's, and St Peter's just took over then. Kieran Mack's influence waned a wee bit during that period, and St Peter's get back to level. And you think, right, this is set up for a good second half, and it just didn't get going. Paul O'Rourke played well for Shane's. He came out to the middle and caught a few marks off kickouts, and he was dangerous up front. But I just think that St Peter's will be really regretting how they played today. Now, it's easy for other people to look in and criticise is fair. I just think they didn't give this a real cut, and I was disappointed. Now, Kieran McCalligan went off injured, and that was a big blow to St Peter's in the middle of the field. Shane's got back on the front foot again. After that, Kieran Macken did have overall a real good, strong game. He got a lot of ball through his hands. I just think that St Peter's missed the boat. Not in terms of a result. I'm not saying that they would have won the game, but I just think they didn't give it maybe as good a fist of it as they may have done. It wasn't played at the championship pace. It was like we were just waiting for something to happen, and nothing happened. And the game, it felt slow. It was like, this game's still how long today? And that's the winning team doesn't care, the losing team has regrets. But at the same time, anybody neutrals watching that think, Shane's just snuck by that and it wasn't a great game. They're not there to put on a show. They're there to win football matches, and they'll be more than happy enough to get out of that one. It was billed as a big game, and St Peter's are one of the teams that could stop this run to the championship. But Shane's did enough. I do think that it felt like they played to what they needed to do, And to be fair, then that's what they did. When they needed to hit scores, they did it. But St Paul's or St Peter's will have a lot of regrets after that game.
And there was a stage in that second half that St Peter's did a couple of chances. I remember now Crane had a really good one at a stage and kicked away, and there was one either straight after it or straight before it, and I can't remember who hit it, but they had enough chances, and like it felt like Shane's were dominating, but there was only three or 4 points in it. There was still time for St Peter's to work something, and they just didn't. They weren't firing well up front.
It was the same in the first half. Like Shane's in control this half, and then it's level, and the same in the second half. You were going, oh, this game must be near over, and then you look at the scoreboard and it's like 13-10. So it was difficult. I thought there was a wee bit of lack of killer instinct. There was a couple of moves I sort of thought St Peter's had chances to make a goal chance, and they were happy enough for somebody to hit the shot instead of making a run in behind. Just looked like it was on, you're opening up, but again then for Shane's were completely dominant up to like about the 50th minute on St Peter's kick out, and then St Peter's are still only 3 behind at that stage, and anything could have happened, but it was just a difficult one. It was a difficult watch. Always, 15 scores in a championship match, 15 points, not that bad of shooting, but even near the end, Shane's had attacked. St Peter's had turnover in cornerback sort of position, and they were breaking out, and there was like 1v4 up, one St Peter's forward, 4 Shane's men, and in the middle of the pitch there was 1 St Peter's man and 5 Shane's men, and they didn't seem to have the energy to get up, and there was no cavalry charge. It was just, they'll be disappointed, and I don't keep saying that, but Shane's will be delighted, slight bit off the radar now, going, how good a performance was that really? They did what they had to do, and that's all you need to do in the championship games. Got through the first round, they're in the semi-finals now. Be interesting to see who they draw. In a championship run, you want to be playing a better team in each round. They'll be happy enough to have get the next 2 weeks. Conor Mack get another 2 weeks training under his belt with them. He didn't play the first day. I think there's more in the tank for Shane's, and whoever they draw next will be up to them to try and draw it out of them, but they're still sitting in pole position for me.
Yeah, well, obviously, as I said, we're speaking on Saturday night, so we haven't seen Cullavilla College on yet, but do you think are Shane still the favourites for this, obviously given their league form, and that was without the 2 Mackins and Greg McCabe, so that's obviously a big boost in quality for them. Do you still have them down as favourites for the championship?
I think that's a good result for them. They have beat the team that finished second to them in the league. They're in semi-finals. I assume injury-free. I didn't see anybody coming off today, and some of their main men are starting to get modern. I think Mark McCabe's the only one who didn't play today, but maybe be able to come back in for the semi-finals. But it's difficult. You can only beat what's in front of you. Everybody with a white cross off completely, so they handle that fairly comfortably in the end of it. I think they're still out front. Culver's still have to get there, but they are a very, very, very dangerous team. If these two maybe are in the semi-final, expect it to be a brilliant match. Expect fireworks today, but it didn't work out that way. But you'd still have them in front. I think even St Paul's pushed Findon into full forward for a couple of balls in near the end. Greg went just in the back of them, and he didn't have the same size, but he was just good in his body position. He just nudged him out of the way and let the keeper come for the ball on his own. Just wee things like that. To have somebody sitting in the rear defence that has that wherewithal to know I need to go back in there now. That's a great help for a coach or manager on the line. When you get to these stages in the championship, you're roaring, shouting, lads do not hear you. They need to already know what's happening and what they should do in certain situations. So they'll be happy enough. I still have them as front runners. I know Tullyston game was more enjoyable there, but Shane's would be a bit more dominant in the middle third, I would imagine. Forwards wise, they're in a good shape, a good bit of pace about them. So Definitely have them out in front for now anyway, and it's be interesting to see what the draw throws up, although they're not fair anybody.
Yeah, it's hard to look ahead, and that's maybe an unfair question, especially when we don't know the championship semi-finals at all. But Friday night's game then by Tones and St Paul's. This turned out to be an excellent game as well. Probably didn't see it coming from a Wolf Tones point of view that they could put up a score like that, but St Paul's got through, and I think, going by reports, they probably just about deserved to win the game.
Yeah.
But an excellent showing for the Tones as well.
Yeah, I suppose it's all them matches and around North Armagh are all derby type matches. Tones are always going to make a good fist of it. They weren't going to roll over. I thought last year when we played them in the quarterfinals, they went out with a big enough performance, and no Peter, and he'd be pretty vexed about that.
I think they got a goal at the end and
they did, and
made the scoreline.
It never felt like it was a close game, but they've obviously gone out and tried to right a few wrongs in terms of the quarter final this year, and it was a derby match for them. They've made a real fist of it. They've obviously attacked a bit more intent than they had the previous game, but the goals were all. Both teams come away will be going, we could have stopped all of them goals happening for both sides. Ball dumped in the box and it's pinball and it ends up in the net. I think they're all, from a defensive point of view, they're all preventable. I think St Paul's, they have work to do as well, but that's a good place to be in. They're in the semi-final. Andrew Murnan probably had shaded, not in the early part of the game, but like the extra time made a difference. When you have a player like that, you're always in the chance. St Paul's would be just glad to get out of that one and move on pretty quick. A wee bit of experience off the bench they had. Lawless played this week, Owen McConnell played, albeit he didn't have a big impact on the game. And Tones would be delighted they were able to snuff that out. But by all accounts, the experience that St Paul's were able to bring on made the difference.
Yeah.
And Tones would be in their rooms, but they've got to go away and look at where's the improvements we can find to stay in 2A after going up, and it'll take time to recharge the batteries and go out again next year.
And I suppose just you mentioned them goals, I think there was 6 and 5 of them came from long balls in the square, so there's something to be said for kicking the ball in.
Getting it in, but it's the right times, and sometimes you kick the ball into the square at the end of the match, and there's a load of bodies back there because they're expecting it. Sometimes trying it early on in the match, in matches can help, even if it's somebody going for a point and the ball drops short. Like the first goal there tonight was definitely, I thought, an effort for a point. Mark Keeper, I think, had it, but it's where's the threat with St Paul's. Andrew drifts in and out from the middle of the field into full forward, but if he's in full forward, you want to get the ball into him. Like I don't know if there's any full backs at intermediate level that are going to be comfortable in dealing with that. And if he goes in, maybe you're drawing a better player from the middle third back to try and cover that. I know that on the podcast, Clonmore obviously they were happy enough to let him go out the field, and similarly I would be too. If he's close to goal, you're worried all the time. You can't push extra bodies away from there, but there's a lot to be said sometimes for just hooking it in and seeing what happens. Particularly now the way the game's played now, it's possession and it's over and back. When you get to that stage, defenders are already back, so sometimes an early kick pass in, all it takes is one break, and if you get one break out of 3, the ball's in the net, you're happy days. So St Paul's have used that to their advantage before in the past. Tones will be good. Like, to go to extra time, you probably just need a bit more depth off the bench or be able to get fresh legs in, and they'll be sick. There's no point saying any different. But the 3 semi-finalists that I've had so far, all of them are coming away from their games saying there's serious improvements that we need to make to win this championship, and that's no bad place for any of them. And it makes it difficult to weigh up in terms of who's prefer to draw who and all that. The only thing I'd say is the other, St Paul's and Tullytarn most likely would not want to draw Shane Leeds in the next round, or Cullehill for that matter if they get through past Scotland. So that's the way it works out. You just got to take each game as it comes. If there's no, you could go right St. Paul's didn't cope with that long ball. You start bombing balls in the next day, they might have worked on for 2 weeks. So, you know, maybe it's not the way you play. Teams sometimes get too caught up in changing their own style of play to suit other teams. You need to be a wee bit fluid in terms of your defending and how you attack depending on other teams' strengths and weaknesses. But, you know, it should be a general theme of how teams play. You know Cullevil's going to kick the ball. Shannon's probably going to run the ball through that mid-third. If they have runners at speed, then they'll knock the ball out to them, but they will have more men coming through the middle. Tullysarn as well, I thought, really good when they kicked the ball wide. You know, they tried a few in towards the square and it didn't happen for them, but when they were knocking that ball wide to the likes of Mark McKee won an awful lot of ball in the first half, particularly, and then they brought it out in the second half. But you know, that's their style of play and how they like to do it. So you have to be able to defend. To win a championship, you need to be able to change how you play a little bit. But it'll be interesting to see how, you know, on Sunday's game, College Lander right off, you know, going by bookies and all the talks about Cullevill, but you just can't take your eye off the ball. And then they're going, right, well, we're going to have a fist for this. You know, they're not going to just make up the numbers. So I think Cullevill will have enough to do to win. You know, it's College Lander could be similar enough style of football to Carey, so you know, I'd imagine Cullevill will be in the draw, but everybody's eyes will be paid to see who gets fired out.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. That's obviously coming up on Sunday evening as well. But just one more note on St. Paul before we wrap up, Barry. I think they went in, they got a goal early on and went 1-2 to no score up, and obviously the Clones got back into it. And in the second half again, St. Paul's got an early goal and went 5 points up, and obviously at the end of normal time they were 3 points up. And every time they let the Tones back into it, so that's going to be a concern for them, that they have these leads, and a bit like we were saying about Tullysarn, they let the Tones back into it, and they're going to come up against probably better forward lines now, so that's going to be a concern for Shane McConville and the whole team.
Every round, unless you've had a real bad first round draw in terms of, you know, getting one of the bigger teams in the championship, every round should be a stiffer test for you, and you need to have that killer instinct. You know, if that goal chance is on to really nail it and go from 6 to 9 points up, you know, and St. Paul's didn't do that. You know, they had Thrones on the ropes and allowed them to get back into the game a couple of times. And same with Tullysarn, and it was the same even with Shane's in the first half. You know, they were cruising. St. Peter's are back in. You need to have that killer instinct to go, right, we're 3 up, can we get 4 up, shore it up a bit. Just hit teams on the break, go 5 up, 6 up, and just keep building your score. You know, if you sit back, that's good. Teams are okay to sit back, but you need to be able to hit teams on the counter. And when you draw teams onto you, it's very hard to get back out and get going again. So not everybody's able to play that way, and sometimes teams should just keep doing what they're good at. You know, Tullysarn, I thought when they sat back, they just brought Billy right on them. They pushed right up. Rory Craven caught a kick out there. You know, the goalkeeper caught the kick out near the end. You know, they didn't have that ability to go and run the ball out. You know, because their best attacking threats is kicking the ball to Mark McKeever and Eddie Mallon. So, not just St. Paul's, but across the whole championship, teams got to work on that and go, look, how do we kill this game off? And St. Paul's weren't able to do that. And sometimes that's, you know, the other team gets a run, and they always do when it gets close. But that's a big learning point. Best teams in the country, like Kilcoon, they just don't do that.
Yeah.
You know, they control the game, it's played at their pace, and you know, and that's what the very, very best teams do. And that'll be something that all the teams will have to work on to go and close this championship out. As I say, I still think the front runners are still there, but the draw will be interesting to see. You know, it's not a foregone conclusion by any means that either any 4 of them teams on their day will cause the other team problems. So forward lines on show are all strong, and that's what people want to see. They want to come and be entertained. You know, when you get a game that's 20 points to 2-15, you know, even the big people out there are going, they give that a real go, and they'll be delighted with their performance. And I know the lads will be disappointed, but they can definitely put their chest out when they're going out to get there, and they've done their club proud tonight.
Big time, Barry. So thanks very much for coming on, Barry. And obviously, when you are listening to this, you know the draw, you know the result in the Cullevill and College Lawn game. So We'll be back now with an interview from that game with a member of the winning team. So Barry, great to have you on. Thanks for giving us your thoughts.
No bother.
So I'm joined by Niall Rowland. He's only after coming off the field here as Cullaville saw off College Lawn to book their spot in the intermediate semi-finals. Now I suppose just to start, to get your reaction from that game, it was comfortable in the end for you?
Yeah, comfortable in the end. We knew probably coming into it we had to be our best. We played College Lands probably 3 or 4 weeks ago now, and probably 50 minutes we definitely didn't get a run our way. So we knew we had to come ready to go. Championship football, they had nothing to lose, they're relegated from the league, so we knew we were just going to throw everything at us. But thankfully we got a good start and we kept going, and thankfully we're in the pot for the semi-final.
And the goals obviously helped, and I think he's had 6 different goal scorers as well, which is good to note as well.
Yeah, I didn't get one myself, so I'm not too happy with
Not
that.
yet.
Yeah, no, good to get goals, good to get plenty of scores. James King popped up with a few fair to train us, so it's good that we're not just relying on the guys inside to do the scoring, that we have a good range of scores, so it's all positive so far.
And obviously the league, winning the league title has been a big boost for you, and having such a good campaign so far in the year.
Yeah, championship, it's all about momentum. If you can get a good league on your belt, you're bringing good momentum into the championship, and thankfully we came through. The last game of the league was a tough one against the league, and thankfully we kind of kept that going now for 2 games. I know the next game will be another step up, but that's championship football and that's what you want.
And I suppose having won the league, you are coming in good form, but is the hurt of last year still driving you on? Because obviously you got to the intermediate final and lost out to Carcruppen, and you've done it the hard way. You beat all the big teams and lost the final. So is that driving you on all year?
It is, yeah. One thing we said, we wanted to be back there. We probably had a rough maybe 2 years before that. We went in a good run last year in the championship, so we took the positives from it. As I said, we beat 3 big teams to get there. Carcruppen came up on the day and probably they were the better team. They got the puck patch and they really punished us. But one thing we said, we just wanted to get back there. We took it a game at a time, and we're one tough game away from now.
And how big of an influence has Cian Hotzer been since he's took the job? He's really improved.
Yeah, Cian Hotzer's a Cullaville man to the bone. So he's been there, he's done it. He's been the main man probably for the 20 years he played for Cullaville. So he's there, he's great. Eamon Hughes and Damien Feeney's in as well, and the 3 of them just seem to click off each other, and the boys like it, and it's all going positive so far.
And Niall, obviously you touched on the semi-final draw. We now know that you have Shane O'Neill's, and I'm not asking you to preview it or nothing. We'll do that in a couple of weeks' time. But obviously a semi-final, there's no easy draws in the semi-final.
Yeah, no easy. So we beat Shane's last year in the first round. They'll be out for a wee bit of revenge, but it's a South Armagh derby. It's semi-final championship. It's going to be tough. They're going to throw everything at us. Hopefully we can do the same, and hopefully if we show up, we'll give it a good crack and see where we go.
Now, thanks for joining us. Everybody, we'll be back with our senior championship preview coming up this Thursday, hopefully, as we look ahead to the senior quarterfinals. Make sure to follow us on all our social media pages and on YouTube as well. Make sure to subscribe if that's where you get your podcast. Now, it's great to hear from you. Thanks for coming on.
Cheers, Sean. Thank you.